All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV, where we tonight have the Area 51 Oval Indy Oval Series, one of those two, here at Chicagoland Speedway. It will be 125 laps around this track, and right now drivers putting on their qualifying laps. Looking at the temperatures, 82 degrees ambient, 120 degrees track temperature. And track time right now showing 12:41 p.m. So that temperature is going to probably continue to rise. So we'll have to keep an eye on that track conditions. Hearing fuel numbers is going to be right in that two-stop window if we go green start to finish with a 125 lap race. Magic number would be 42. That way they can get to the finish on that 42.84 and then 126 to have that one extra lap. So we'll see if that comes into play or not. And yeah, based on that, drivers saying they might have to save like maybe a lap or two, but I'm expecting a little bit of pace fall off, things of that nature. So we'll have to wait and see. And yeah, I'm going to pull up a little bit of info for myself because we got to see where everybody is on the point side of things. I know we still have Mark Murphy as our points leader over in that number 69 machine. And then also trying to check on the results. We know Nick Drew getting that big win last week at Indianapolis. And I believe it's Eric Schaus jumping up to second in points. He is now 50 out of the lead. Nick DeGroot, Matt Wagner tied for third, both 67 points out of league. And so again, mentioned drop weeks are kicking in now. So based on those numbers, that's their best 7 out of their 8 starts. So again, a lot that we'll be keeping an eye on over the course of this remaining season as we complete race number 8. And so we still got a few more left to go. So it's going to be fun to see the remainder of that season. And then again, 1.5 mile oval, slightly curved backstretch. So I think inside line is going to be popular. However, this track is very, very abrasive. So that might, and of course with the temperatures too, might force some drivers up off the bottom. So we'll see kind of who can manage it the best. And then shortly, if not already sneaking in there, we'll be joined by an Andrew Wood. So again, he knows the ins and outs of these cars a lot more than I do. And he'll be able to get some good insight on things. Looking at the wind, not a lot of wind speed. Probably don't have to worry too much about that out of 2 and 4. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun this evening.
Yes, Kyle, here I am. I was actually checking a couple of the same things that you were, because if those that were watching haven't forgotten, we were at Indianapolis last race 2 weeks ago, and we had quite the finish there with Nick DeGroot making that pass amongst what seemed like, the whole top 10. He just kind of slid his way in there, and he made himself kind of known in this series finally. And I know that's something that's been bothering him for many, many weeks now, especially last season where he barely was able to squeak out a win right at the end, and then he went winless for the whole part of this season. So he may be back up to form today, and this is kind of one of those races here where patience is always going to pay off. So I feel like this might be a Nick DeGroot kind of race here if he could pull things off, but don't discount guys like Joe Branch that also showed really well at Indy, and someone that I predicted would kind of turn his season around. So if Branch can be patient as well, I feel like he might be a contender as well, compared to some of the guys, the usual contenders that we see up front. It's just some dark horses to watch along the way, and those drivers are really looking to make their stake in this championship. So DeGroot and Branch are guys I'm going to definitely watch tonight.
Yeah, say Nick's had that extra week as well to enjoy that win before we got back into it here as well. So yeah, it'll be fun to see. And I mean, we've talked about with Nick lately where he's like, yeah, I got in super late. I didn't really have a chance to really kind of see what I could do, and that it affected his qualifying run. So we'll see if that comes into play once more here tonight. We have about 20 drivers, looks like, that'll be taking part in tonight. It looks like 18 of the 20 have put a qualifying lap down. So we'll have a pretty good call on at least on the qualifying pace of these drivers. And as I say that, I believe qualifying has just completed here. So what we will do here is wait for these cars to click over onto the grid, and you can see right there everything's switching over from practice to the race lineup here. So let's go ahead and pull up our starting grid for tonight's event, and it is going to be Edson Santos on pole position, and pretty good margin here, Andrew, about half a tenth, which at a track like this, again, these guys usually are right on top of each other. So a great lap by Edson there. Next to him is going to be Craig Forsyth. And then, again, points leader coming into tonight, Mark Murphy. You got Rick Sanchez there in fourth, a great start for him. Mason Mitchum, Eric Schausik, and Eric their second in points, so going to kind of keep that 69 in his sights. AJ Hobson, Shane Coker, and actually my grid here is all sorts of all over the place. Let me see if I can get this fixed real quick. There we go. Eric Schaus, and there's Matt Wagner actually also tied in points. They're right together as we mentioned. Then you got Eric Peterson, Nick Wheeler are top 10. Jeff Heisong, Nick DeGroot, again, kind of a mid-pack one here. Andrew in 12th position there. Aaron Trotter, Charles Teed, Daniel DeRozzo there. There's Shane Coker in 16th. Joe Branch, Casey Putsky, Frank Irwin Jr., and Joseph Morales. Those are the 20 drivers that are registered for tonight's event. And yeah, we'll see what we got in store for this one here this evening.
Looks like Mark Murphy is the highest of the championship contenders in third place there. We have Eric Schaus sitting in the middle part of the top 10 there, but Nick DeCruz with another poor qualifying, and that always indicates that he has something up his sleeve. So he might do a little bit of a fuel save. Doesn't have to kind of fall back much to do the fuel save. He's just going to kind of sit there and do what he has to do. And yeah, Joe Branch, not really great qualifying for him, but he might follow the Nick DeGroot strategy. So the two of them might kind of hook up in the back and figure out what exactly strategy they want to overtake there. Edson Santos is one that kind of, it's actually very intriguing because he ran up front quite a bit last season, and he's been pretty quiet for most of the season. But he's starting out on pole now, and he may not have a lot of challenge up there if people are trying to save fuel. So Edson might be sitting in the kind of the safe zone. He just has to work on figuring out what kind of strategy he wants to employ. And if he wants to just sit out there and a little bit of fuel, then maybe that might be the best strategy for him to stay out of trouble tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to be very interested to see how Edson runs this as well, because we've always talked about the pace he has on the long runs. He is very good at managing those tires. He and Rafael Eckert, I think actually Eckert's one that might be even just a little bit better. So with the clean air right off the bat, too, it'll be fun to see how he kind of attacks this race. If it's one of those ones where, like I said, maybe hold the bottom and just see what you can do, or if we're going to see these guys jump around a little bit. So we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, field's going to build up here. And, of course, for me, Andrew, the trickiest part for me in these cars is turn 3, that opening lap. You're still building up temperature, building up pressure, and these cars don't like to rotate very well in turn 3 in that first lap getting up to speed. So hopefully these guys are ready for it. But, yeah, 20 cars here tonight, 125 laps. Should be a 2 pit stop race under green flag conditions. But we'll see what these guys have for us tonight.
I think the turn 3 and 4 bug, or not bug really, but that little bit of tightness is a little different here because of the banking. But yeah, everyone's going to be caught up by a little bit of a push there. So it's always better to kind of predict it and see what happens. And looks like we're going green here.
Yep, and we are underway. You see there in the background, Jeff Heisong ready to roll. He jumped right to the middle there, trying to peek outside of Eric Peterson. It looks like Peterson's going to hold on to it, but right now it will be Edson here taking the point out of turn number 2. Mark Murphy trying to steal that draft. Can't quite get it underneath. He's going to jump to the outside. That's going to force Craig now to try to probably open up possibly that third lane. Ooh, big drift for contact. Him. Oh, big wreck in the back there.
Joe Branch was caught up in that one too.
Yeah, Joe Branch, Daniel DeRozzo, and Shane Coker look like were the 3 involved. And there was a really close call there with Rick Sanchez, Craig Forsyth as well. You see Daniel's going to try, all these guys trying to limp this thing back to the pits here to try to save that toe. I can tell you Shane has gone ahead and just done the toe right off the bat. And then, yeah, Daniel, same thing. He finally was like, yeah, this ain't happening. So let's go take a look at that. And, yeah, I want to see what that is.
I was going to say another car got some mega air. We had the Mark Murphy surfing fest last week, but Shane Coker got a lot of air on that incident. You'll see.
And it's saying it looks like it's going to kick off right around Daniel DeRozzo here. As I say, you see he's in the middle 3 there. I believe on the inside might be Frank Irwin Jr. Oh, actually, he has to check up a bunch there. And I said, I don't think Joe Branch saw that coming, and this is where you'll see the contact. And, yeah, there's Shane going for some air. And, again, why we're very glad this is a virtual thing and not real life, because, yeah, and also real life, they may not launch like that. But either way, you don't want that to happen.
Well, I mean, I hate to bring this up, but that reminds you a lot of the Dan Weldon wreck from Las Vegas.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The way tires.
That unfortunately is the same exact kind of launch that he got, and obviously, sad ending to that one. But yeah, this is a virtual thing, so
And then I also want
people go for more risk too.
Oh, for sure, yeah. No,
Kind of thing.
you can turn your screen off afterwards if things don't go well. But I also want to go back and look at this one right here as well, because Craig Forsyth, Rick Sanchez, they got extremely close to one another here through 3 and 4. You see, Rick, he was able to really hustle around the top, and that was where the incident in the back happened. But yeah, Rick got a great run up top through 3 and 4 and was able to clear there before the incident back behind him. So a big move by Rick to get back up into third, and I think it showed right off the bat too that tires just the clean air is going to be very important here, and he was able to get that while Craig was in that dirty air on the second lane. So you see Joe Branch, he's rolling back outfield, should get the one to go this time around. Unfortunately, Daniel Durazo, Shane Coker still waiting for their toes to take effect. But unfortunately, this will drop them, it looks like, at least 2 down. I am showing Joe Branch 1 lap down in the 28, but I think he'll be the best of the rest. And, yep, as I saw Shane start to get fixed up, and he's going to roll off here. Again, I believe 2 down. Joe Branch will be the first car, and actually the only car 1 down. And then it looks like Joseph Morales just getting that little extra splash of fuel, but also this caution should make it a lot easier to make that fuel number here to get to that the lap 42-ish mark. So I think fuel mileage probably out of the question now too.
One thing I wanted to kind of mention from that previous incident, you definitely saw in your slow-mo cam there that the cars indeed were pushing up quite a bit in turn 3 there. I thought the banking might kind of help a little bit in terms of trying to get the cars turned. There's always going to be a little bit of a cold tire situation when you go into turn 3, but I mean, another thing I should have mentioned with that Rick Sanchez Forsyth almost incident there was that Sanchez, these drivers in this series just have so much respect and a lot of trust in each other. So Sanchez went up high, and he knew that Forsyth wasn't going to do anything too crazy, but yeah, they made it out of there just safe, but it was very close.
Yep, so now we're going to regroup now. Single file on the restart side, and this is where Edson has control, and he is down and away. Saw a little stack up there just a teeny bit further back, but looks like so far so good. And actually, I think the car I was mentioning was 3 wide actually was Aaron Trotter in the 02. I say one of the paint schemes I'm still trying to learn as we get further along here, but now this is where, again, leaders always kind of, to me at least, the most vulnerables on those restarts. We'll see if Mark Murphy can try to do anything with that number 20 car.
It looks like he's kind of hanging in there for now, and Murphy might try and take that lead, but like you said, the fuel save situation may not be such a big deal anymore, but these guys are always looking for some sort of advantage over one another. So Edson looks like he's kind of planted himself right in that bottom lane all the way around, and if he can make his car work and do everything like that, then it looks like Murphy may have a hard time getting around him, especially if he's not really trying to save the fuel.
Yeah, and that'll be the interesting part too, is for Murphy. Yeah, what is his balance here? Is it just get all the draft you can down the straightaways, then jump up top to just kind of get that clean air in the front wing, and then maybe tucks back in? So yeah, we'll have to kind of keep an eye on Mark and see what his strategy is going to be if he tries anything different. Right now you see Craig there all over the rear wing now, back on Rick Sanchez. And again, Craig now, he's in that tough spot where you've got the 20 on the bottom, you got Mark Murphy in the middle, a little bit of a blink there for him, and Rick was running that third lane, so Craig's just trying to find any clear air on the front wing of that number 99 as he can. And you can see he's kind of just trying to split as many lanes as he can to find somewhere to put that car. And also kind of seeing that late apex, I feel like that late arc inner high, and then you cut it down a little bit later than maybe normally. I have seen that come into play before. I think it was Auto Club, if I'm not mistaken, where
You're
kind
right.
of a not conventional line, but it seemed like it worked a lot of times.
I could definitely tell that these guys are not doing any fuel save right now, because easily Edson would have been swallowed up if he was in a mix 3, 4, or 5 right now. So this is a full rich mix here for Edson. Unfortunately, Mark Murphy is kind of lagging in and out a little bit, which might make it a little difficult for the guys that are following him. But hopefully that's something that's just temporary and he gets it all kind of sorted there. But Edson definitely seems like he's got a nice little run sitting there in the bottom lane, and no one's really able to take advantage at this point.
Yeah, no, and Mark's in a tough spot, obviously, because you want to keep your track's position, but at the same time, I'm sure there's good drivers going to be keying up shortly, if not already, saying like, hey, 69 car's blinking a little bit. And then sometimes they'll give them a little bit to see if it settles back in. Otherwise, they might say, hey, all right, you're going to have to drop to the back. That way we don't risk anybody making contact. But I'm going to jump back a little further, though, because we got a little gaggle here now. Eric Schaus working his way up there, getting around Rick Sanchez. AJ Hobson's going to tag right along, almost, let's say, not quite bump drafting, but pretty much getting as close as he could there, as they've gained a couple spots here in that 72, and the 4 machines now working inside the top 5 for the 2 of them. And a little bit further back, I saw Nick Wheeler here working around with Jeff Heisong there, Aaron Trotter as well, and then add Casey Putsky to the mix there as well. Ooh, I think Aaron may have just caught the wall a little bit on entry of 1 there, if I'm not mistaken. And you see Nick DeGroot trying to pounce here.
So I actually watched Rick Sanchez kind of give up P4 there and fall behind 2 of the cars, and now he's sitting in P6, and I wonder if that's in a measure to do some sort of fuel or tire save here. With these 2 cars in the lead, it's very difficult to really make any runs, so it's almost kind of a compulsory thing to do, especially if you're 4 sides, just kind of sit there and save a little bit of fuel. Even though it's not really a fuel save race per se, you're doing something to save your tires, so later on when you get the clean air and the 2 liters pit, then you have a little bit of extra tire to run around with, even if you might be the leader. So if you know you can't pass the leaders there that are kind of blocking the track on the middle and the bottom lane there, then it's almost kind of whatever you've got to do to save a little bit of fuel there. So going back to Sanchez there, he was in P4 and he dropped back to P6 just to give himself even bit of more of a draft as to maybe save a little bit more fuel. So I'm kind of interested to see what Sanchez has up his sleeve here.
Well, so it looks like Mark Murphy's actually now going for the point there. I think he will lead that lap. So I'm already wondering.
He has no choice.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe the tires are coming in.
Yeah, well, he's popped himself outside, and once you put yourself there, you're committed. You're not going to do anything else other than try and take that lead and try and pinch that guy in first place all the way down the white line to wear his right front tire out. And it seems to be kind of working, especially with it's getting a little hotter out there with the temperatures. The track temp's increasing, so if you could burn that guy's right front tire up, sometimes just hanging on the outside for lap after lap, even though the guys behind you are doing a bit of a fuel save, it will pay off after a while.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it for Mark, is he's able to kind of open that wheel up, let it, like you said, kind of get the scrub off of the tire sooner. Whereas if you're Edson Santos, you're having to keep that wheel a little cranked further to keep it tighter on the exit, not drift up into Mark, and also shallower entry as well. So you're kind of the same thing, having to crank it a little bit more. So they've kind of stabled back a little bit now, where they still stay side by side. Like I said, Mark had a nose ahead just for a little bit, a couple laps. Then again, you can see the connection still having a little bit of a hiccup here.
We had a little Trotter hit the wall off turn 2 again. He kind of stacked up everyone behind him there. And a little bit of confusion going down the back straight as they kind of almost went 4 wide in the middle part there. But I don't think he picked up any damage there. I'm going to check on that.
Yeah, I can tell you there was a few laps earlier too where I jumped back just to peek a little bit as I saw Nick DeGroot kind of jump to the apron out of turn 2. And yeah, these guys, again, this might be in just outside the top 10, but it's as much of a hornet's nest as it is anywhere else on the track here. So I'll see Eric Peterson here trying to see if he can make a move on that number 5 car. Can't quite do it yet. Currently highest climber, Casey Pahutsky. Casey up 7 spots into 11th. Aaron Trotter, we just mentioned, so he's actually up 4 spots into 9th there in that precision liveried car. And then I'll say we had Brendan Briggs, one of those, one of our broadcasters on the super speedway side, rooting on that guy right here, Matt Wagner. And that's a new paint scheme on that number 6. Looks like got Food Lion on the side of that one, trying to catch some of the other logos on Ralph's as well. So say changing it up a little bit. I'm sure there's a theme or a historical scheme behind it. But right now he's not worrying about that. He's worrying about these cars around him as he is.
You see what Nick DeGroot's line is there? He's doing the Christopher rim ride the whole way around the track. It's especially if you watch him through turn 1 and 2. It's a line that I don't think I've ever used before. It's just don't turn into turn 1 and then just catch the banking on the high side. And he's trying to outsmart Matt Wagner there, and it might work eventually, especially if Wagner keeps trying that low line.
Oh, it was close right there. Nick could have crossed him over, I think, should he chose. And we're going to jump back up a spot here, too, because Aaron Trotter just getting around Mason Mitchum. Can he complete the pass? He will. Almost a little bit of a slide job there as well, where he kind of entered low, drifted up there, but was able to complete it. And then I'm still watching up front, Edson and Mark. They'll say they're still right on top of each other here as well. So And again, we talked about the fuel mileage. I mean, we're about halfway through a fuel run, so there's a lot of transition through the tires and the fuel. And again, we'll have to see kind of at what point do we see the balance switch where tires matter more than the lightness of the car with the fuel burning off. So it's going to be fun. It's fun to see kind of where the advantage lies in these types of situations.
So Nick got around Wagner last lap, and I mean, he's committed to that upper lane there. And now his next target will be Mason Mitchum there. He's going to go by him on the outside here. And you can see he almost just doesn't turn into turn 1 and turn 3. And yep, tags the wall a little bit there. Going through turn 3 and can't complete the pass there so much. But it's just wild watching what lines these guys want to take. And it's not something that will keep your tires in a fresh state if you keep doing something like that, because you'll need a lot of wheel to even kind of turn into the middle part of turn 1 and 2 in particular.
Yeah, I know, and that's the thing too. Like you said, is just you're just running such a fine line. Ooh, so yeah, Peterson there and Trotter going after. Oh, look at Nick.
Trotter went from the bottom to the top there, not intentionally. I think he just had a lot of push in his car, maybe wrong tools. But yeah, DeGroot had to kind of mess up his rhythm there. Oh.
Trotter's got troubles. I think he's got too much damage now. That car just does not want to rotate anymore. That or the right front's already burned off.
Yeah, he's now damaged the floor on that car. I checked the right side floor, and he's going to have a lot of issues now with top speed, similar to what we saw last week with I can't remember which car we were dealing with that had the top to bottom issues. I think it was Coker after his when he stayed on the.
No.
We have an incident now.
Yeah, and it felt like it was going to be inevitable. That car just kept pushing, and so both these cars go around and say Aaron's going to be most okay. He's got to get out of the grass and get rolling. Although it looks like I think that car's a little bit crabbed. It looks like, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that car's not tracking well. Casey Pahutsky got a piece of that. I don't know. Casey could maybe get away with the front wing. We'll have to kind of keep an eye on him there. But I'm going to go back. We'll take a look here, and we'll take a closer look from Casey's point of view. Again, you're going to see just he gets into the wall, and then, again, the closing rate's just too high, and then Casey gets into the back. And all right, so, Andrew, if I put you in Casey's shoes here, do you take the gamble and try to just do a non-fast repair, just try to see if replacing the front wing fixes it, or what are you thinking in this situation for that number 25?
Yes, I absolutely think you just go for a front wing change, untick the box, see how the car is. You're not going to lose any lap or anything like that. You're already kind of running them in the mid-pack, so save the fast repair for the big one that might be coming later. So I would just go in there, fix the front wing, don't tick the box, and see if that fixes the car enough for you to continue on in the pack. And then if something happens later, you have that bird in the hand there.
You see Joe Branch, he's going to swing on around, get his lap back again. He was the only car 1 down. Shane Coker, Daniel Durazo, they were 2 down. So now they've got a decision to make here as well, Andrew, where do they decide, okay, so I think they can enter the second time by. I don't think pits are open from this first time by, but do they stay out and take the leg up? Go ahead.
Rick Sanchez is sideways in the pit lane. I'm not sure what happened there, but he's going right now. So he lost pretty much every spot.
Let's go see if we can take a look here for Rick.
I was watching Nick DeGroot stop to see if he was going to pick up any spots, and all of a sudden I saw a car broadside right at the exit of the pit road there.
You can see the angle he's already in is not the best. I wonder if he just throttles out too hard. Yep, throttles out too hard. I think Peterson's going to get away with that. He was the one that was the closest to contact.
Right, but when he gets going again, there were some other cars that had to randomly take evasive action to avoid getting an incident there. So I think everybody got out fine, just like you said. But yeah, that was kind of a strange one, especially as he was kind of near DeGroot's pit box, so I was watching what was happening there. But yeah, going back to the getting the lap back situation, I think it'll be fine to kind of stay out. Yeah, yep. So they're going to get their lap back. So everyone's got 1 lap back. Branch is back on the lead lap again. Durazo, Coker are just 1 lap down now. So they're going to be in a little bit of a disadvantaged situation. But as long as they stay with the pack and don't do anything crazy to really try and burn their stuff off a lot more. Yes, they'll have to pit probably within 15, 20 laps or so. But it's a good strategy. It's the only thing they can really do to get themselves back in this race again if we have a quick caution.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think that's the right call for them. So like you said, they're 2 down now, 1 down. And again, everybody's still in 2-stopper, I think, from here. Again, we talked about 42 being the magic number for a 2-stopper. So, I mean, we're going to restart here on lap 30. So I don't think we're anywhere near the ability to stretch that into a 1-stopper. And I can also confirm for you, Casey Putsky, I think he was listening to us, or we're just really smart and had the same idea. He had a 14-second pit stop, which is pretty much the typical, like, 5 seconds added for a front wing change. So Casey opting to, I think, save that fast repair. As we get back underway, you see Edson Santos drops the hammer, and we are back under green here starting lap number 30.
I like to say we're the smartest people on earth, Kyle. That's why people watch us.
That is exactly why. And we're the most modest, too.
Maybe you, but not me. But yeah, so I'm going to watch the back of the pack here and watch these guys got the wave around and see how much time they may gain or lose. Hopefully they just kind of stay with the pack and don't lose too much time.
And now they got to fight each other though too here, Andrew, because now they're both 1 down, so they know, hey, if there's yellow, whoever's ahead of the other one, that's the spot, and I get that spot back. So this is going to be that fight within a fight, I think, between these two right now.
I really do think Durazo, just based on how he's been running the last few weeks, will probably get the advantage there, and Coker won't really put up too much of a fight. But yeah, Durazo just pulled ahead of Coker through turn 1 and 2 there. So Durazo's got a little bit of speed right now, despite his worn tires. But I think he's just hoping for that caution right now, something that randomly happens that will get him right back into the mix again. Otherwise, he's going to fall to be 2 laps down again when they have to pit.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is they're going to have to pit about 25-ish laps earlier than the rest of the field here now. Just again, due to the fact that they have not pitted since they had to tow earlier on in the race. So, so there's going to be a lot that they have to watch out for there. And then again, there's also those 2 trains of thought for Daniel and Shane. For Daniel, you can tell he was trying to hustle to make sure he got around Shane. Maybe Shane's kind of turned that field map down a little bit, saying, you know what, you go win the short game. I'm going to try to win this long game by maybe getting a caution during the pit stop cycle, and see if maybe that does something. But at the same time, like you mentioned, they have to pit so much earlier that it might actually wind up being a wash. So now that I say it out loud, I'm like, maybe that actually isn't going to be the way it goes. But either way, though, here, a great fight continues up front here with Edson and Mark. And again, Mark's still having a little bit of connection issues. See that car disappear every so often. Again, not for very long. And the other thing to explain for those that maybe aren't super familiar with sim racing, there's also different types of connection issues where you get that kind of quick blink in and out. And then there's times where you're behind the wheel, Andrew. I know you've experienced it, I'm sure, where the car blinks, but then they come back in a completely different spot than where they were. It's almost like the car's like 3-4 lanes wide. That's a whole different issue connectivity-wise than a quick little blink here and there.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those kind of unpredictable ones where you're not really sure where the car is or what's happening. But I'm watching. One thing I wanted to mention was that I'm watching these cars up front here, and they were kind of spread out a little bit. It wasn't like they were packed up, but now they're starting to kind of pack up again. So I wonder if the guys up front are starting to play with the fuel mix again. And whereas before they were kind of pulling away and not really doing much moving, now they're starting to play around with it again. And the cars from P3 to 6, 7 or so are starting to catch back up again.
Yeah, and I say that car sitting in P3. Again, he's getting the least amount of clean air than these 2 in front. However, again, I think he's going to be one of those that's probably dragging anchor a little bit. One thing I'm noticing right here is we'll compare him to Edson and Mark. But you see right now he's rolling in 6th gear there, keeping the revs down a little bit. Maybe also, again, maybe trying to roll out of it here and there where he can just use that draft. But as I said, Eric Schau's trying to work over him. So now I'm going to jump over to Edson. And yeah, so here you go. Edson's probably foot to the floor, 5th gear. And I'll jump right next door to him. Mark Murphy, same thing, 5th gear. So to me, right off the bat, that kind of tells me a lot where when you're down a gear, or up a gear, I guess you should say in Craig's case here, that's, I would suspect, a little bit more fuel saving. Sorry, there, Eric Schaus actually tried to get around him, was not able to. Also need to mention, actually, Shane Coker on pit road. I feel like this definitely early. He should have been able to go a little longer, so I'm a little confused on this one by the 32, unless maybe I missed something. But he's on pit road again. This, or maybe it's just working the numbers where it's like, okay, I'll pit now, and then I can still make it.
Yep, I'm on the same wavelength as you there, Gael. I think he realized that he had something to play with later on. Durazo's going to get the lap back, so let's just pit now and see what happens if he can come out with the rest of the pack somewhere, pick up a couple of spots just on the fresh tires and raw pace. And maybe he'll just get his lap back naturally, especially if Durazo's sitting in the middle of the pack right now. And when he has to pit, he may kind of jump him. So it's kind of a long game situation.
Oh, it hasn't gone well, though, unfortunately. So you can see he's just went off track here, building up speed. So we'll go back and say, sorry, Shane, we're going to take a look, but I think that's just be him trying to hustle a little too hard. Yeah, there's the back end steps out. That said, though, that's a really impressive catch to be able to hold on to that thing. And you see also all the grass and everything being thrown onto the track. And that's something that is actually shows up in iRacing now. So now with these cars, as they go through that backstretch that next time around, they're going to see and feel the debris on the backstretch until they're able to clear it off. So it's also a fun thing that's kind of been added, a little bit extra kind of realism and immersion, if you will. So but yeah, no, unfortunately, that's not what Shane was looking for. He does still have clean air, which is great. So he'll be able to do the same thing, just kind of map one, just balls to the wall right now. But yeah, unfortunately, though, he's able to, or unable to gain kind of what he was probably hoping to. And I'm going to say tires do matter right now, Andrew, because Daniel Durazo, he can't hold on to the main pack. I think those tires are just too worn, and that may also been what Shane was thinking when he jumped in early.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right about that. I think the way to basically just get yourself back into this pack again is just kind of sit there. Don't try too hard. Yeah, if you can't make a move here or there, if you know you're the first car lap down, the next caution, you're going to be right back into the race again. So don't try and do anything crazy. Just make sure you can actually drive the car, don't hit the wall, and don't damage your car more than you already have. And things may actually turn around for you later on.
I'll say, speaking of don't do anything crazy, I guess go 3 wide maybe fits into the bill there. I'm going to say Craig has had his hands full right now with Schaus, and then here comes Nick DeGroot decided to join the party. Yeah, Teed's on pit road here. Same thing. Seems, I think that's a, I'm going to call it type pit stop there, I think, for the 50, unfortunately. So either something maybe happened or just maybe real life happened and had to step out, unfortunately. So unfortunate to see.
I'm checking on that to see if there was some contact somewhere or something along those lines.
That said, right now, top two running away here. Craig's definitely trying to work some numbers. I feel like I don't think it'll be enough to, like I said, to one-stop it, but it's really stacked up the guys behind him where Schaus and DeGroot, again, they were trying to take him 3 wide to get back by him, and they've kind of settled in a little bit, but he's still in the draft window here, Andrew, but, I mean, he's 8/10 off now. I mean, at what point do you start kind of ringing some alarms and say, okay, I gotta maybe bump it from let's say he's running map 4, I gotta bump it back to map 3 or map 2 to get back at least a little closer distance to these guys?
I'm not really sure if it's more of a tire fall off sort of thing, where it almost kind of seemed like people were stacking up a little bit, and then you wanted to save a little bit of fuel, so you kind of kick it back up again, burn the tires some, kick it down to maybe save some. I'm not sure if it's really an issue of a fuel save, more of I'm just trying to figure out what exactly my tools are to try and keep up with the pack, and I wonder if Craig is just struggling a little bit with that. Schaus is definitely all over him, so whatever he was trying to do, he's got a lot of steam coming from behind, and I think that he's just kind of dropping back a little bit unsuspectingly, and it's just allowing those two to get away up front. So the guys that might have just been kind of hanging out behind him, you see DeGroot's coming, he's not ready to wait any longer. It looks like there might be some sort of problem, or I'm not really sure. I don't have a good answer for you on this one. I'm trying to figure it out myself.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see. It's been hovering around that 8/9 of a second margin, so he hasn't fallen off too far from him. Do also want to mention Daniel Durazo did hit his marks in and out of pit road already, so he's going to roll out and should be able to cycle ahead of Shane Coker as well. And yeah, it does look like Charles Teed has, I believe, retired, as is Aaron Trotter, unfortunately, in the 02. But yeah, right now, as again I say, it's been like this pretty much since the restart with these two up front, just side by side. And of course, as soon as I say that, that gap's grown to almost a second now. So now, like I mentioned, I say now to me, alarm bells may be ringing a little louder here if I'm the 72 and the 89 saying, hey man, you might be trying to do something, but we need to get around you because we think that they're going to get away if we don't pick up the pace. So we'll see what Craig's long-term plan is here. Good battle here. Matt Wagner, AJ Hobson, 6th and 7th respectively. Right now, AJ's trying to run the top side around Matt. We'll see if they're able to hold on to it. And a little further back, too, some more good battles here. Joseph Morales and Jeff Heisong. Jeff just sneaking by him there. Puts himself into 9th.
I'm trying to think back right now, back to the Vegas race where Murphy had that incident on the back stretch. I'm trying to remember, was that with Edson or was that with Eckert, perhaps? Because I find it interesting. The right in the middle part of the race there where Murphy was trying to pinch a car down on the there was a couple of bits of contact. It might have been Rafael Eckert. I can't remember if it was Eckert or Santos, but I'm trying to think back if it was Santos. I'm wondering if Murphy's just giving an extra wide berth during this battle here, where he could try and pinch Santos down a little bit more to try and give him a bit more tire wear, but he's a little bit scared if he's running him too close, because I definitely think in the Vegas situation, Murphy was running whichever car he was battling with very, very close, and it was almost kind of inevitable there would be some sort of impact there. But if it was Edson Santos, I think Murphy's trying to give him an extra little bit of car width there to make sure there's no contact.
Yeah, I'm sure part of it too. It's like, hey, we're not even halfway yet. Don't need to push too hard yet. But at the same time, like you mentioned too, and it's not it's for one of those things also. This isn't a knock on an Edson or a Rafael situation. It's just physical location. Those two drivers are in Brazil, so the servers that they have to connect to, there's a further distance for them to get to, which means unfortunately likely a little bit less quality on the connection side of things, and so it just amplifies that potential of the net code that they call it. The car moves side to side, things of that nature, and so that's why in these types of situations you might have to give somebody a little bit more room, because again, you just don't know if, let's say, one car width is actually a car width, or if it's maybe a 1.5 or whatever in that situation. So we've seen it, unfortunately. It's been biting some drivers in the past, and so yeah, so that's one of those things, and that's why, like you mentioned for Mark, maybe having to be a little extra cautious there on that situation. But man, these guys are going to start getting even more antsy, because here comes Matt in this picture, and Craig's losing him now. I talked about him closing back up. It's down to 1.1 seconds now of a gap, as Mason Mitchum actually is hitting pit road here.
Yeah, we got to be talking about pit stops soon, right? Because I think 28 was the pit stop for
we're at
the
58,
caution.
So yeah, about 30. So I think max they can go is probably about 12, 13-ish more. And again, though, I'm curious to see who goes how far. Will be the fun math.
Well, let's put it this way. If Craig has fallen back this far, let's just pretend that he's sitting in a map 4 right now. Just unapologetically sitting there in a fuel map. That's allowing the top two to pull away. Say they're on the full rich map. They'll be definitely the ones to pit first. So we'll have to see if Craig, your favorite fuel saver, is doing exactly what he wants to do, and Eric's just kind of hanging out there, and he wants to race, but he also kind of is like, all right, let's play along with this fuel save strategy. This is all speculative. I'm not saying this is exactly what they're doing, but let's say that Craig just says, all right, we're kicking the maps down. Eric says, I'm not going to pass that too wide wall up ahead. I'll also play along with you. I'm curious to see if the 2 leaders are the first ones to pit, and then these 4 cars that are behind are actually going to do like a lap, maybe 2 laps longer.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued to see as well, like you just mentioned, for how far they can go versus Craig and so on.
Well, this is interesting here, because Schaus has now made the move into third. He made it so simply and so easily, as if he was kind of just hanging out, but he's like, yeah, I'm done with this. I'm going now. And look at the gap he's already pulling on Craig. And
this is probably also where Craig's like, yes, more draft, please. Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely.
I threw some quick numbers. So based on them pitting around 27, 28, of course, we then restart a few laps later. if my numbers are right, that would leave him just under 100 laps to go in that race. So roughly, he would need to go about 48, 49 laps per tank to make it to the end on one stop. Again, at the beginning, we had mentioned that 40 to 42 is sounded like the likely range that they can go without any fuel save. So there's potential there to, I don't know if he can stretch that many laps, but like I said, yeah, if there's someone that wants to save it, Craig likes to try.
I mean, look at what's happening right now. Eric has pulled out over a second lead, so it's clear that Craig is doing some sort of fuel save, and you don't just pull away a second in 2-3 laps without doing any sort of fuel change going on here. So I could definitely tell right now the 2 leaders are on a higher fuel map. Eric has pulled up the wick. Forsyth is kind of just flailing here on some sort of different strategy to try something a little different. And now he's fallen all the way to 6 as Nick has now battled him. Now he pulls up right ahead of Craig.
Yeah, some bad dirty air there.
But look, we were losing so much time to the leaders, and look where Schaus is right now. He's keeping up with them. So the 2 leaders were not doing a fuel save whatsoever.
Yeah, no, they were still within that magic draft window as well. So Duty mentioned that Eric Peterson has hit pit road. And interestingly for me on this one for Peterson is he's actually cycled out behind Mason Mitchum, who pitted at 57, even behind Shane Coker, who had that issue on pit road exit as well. So to me, that again, talk about the tires and pace fall off. So going along, you might, for Craig, for instance, if he's going to try to one-stop this again, I mean, the goal is obviously to be able to do it. Ooh, look at Mark Murphy there. Actually finally clears Edson. Yeah. And again, this is probably about to hit pit road. Actually, Edson's in. Nope, Edson's not in. It looked like he was.
It looked like he was kind of lifting. I think he made a wrong choice there. And now Edson's for the first time in dirty air, so he's going to make some mistakes based on where he wants to turn in and figure out where the clean air is. Because he had nothing but clean air. Now he's got to try and find it.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And you saw immediately he went to the second lane. Because, again, Mark now running kind of that first seam. So he's running kind of that middle lane, maybe arcs it a little bit on exit. But, yeah, so right now the pace is dropping. And so for Craig's strategy to work here, if he's able to get to that magic number, which, again, at this point, it's got to be under 50 to go in my mind, then he's going to need to make sure he can also cycle back out of pit road in the draft. So, and we've seen that it definitely looks like there's definitely more pace with the fresh tires than a light car with used tires.
We would have restarted with 96 to go, so that's 48 laps each. Well, 48 and then a little more than a 48 based on that. So he has to do a 48 at least, or a 49 to make it to the pits to do a 48.
That was really close there between the 20 and the 69. Here comes actually both of them right on cue.
Yeah, wow. Looks like Mark.
Oof, that was close.
Got very close, yeah.
And Frank Irwin Jr., he's going to hop in as well. Oh, Frank's missing a front wing end plate. So
Frank Irwin?
Not sure if that's why he pitted, or we'll have to take a look at that at some point. But right now, though, we still are under green, so I'm not sure what caused it.
Actually.
What's that? I'm sorry?
It went away and came back.
Oh, okay.
It's like so.
And there was a moment there as well with Edson and Mark where same thing, the front wing for Edson disappeared, and then it popped back as well. So.
Well, I think for at least for Murphy, he got stuck on the kind of the transition of the apron and the track. So I think that kind of sent his car a little bit forward, but somehow he was able to get the car turned down pit road.
And I think, unfortunately, Frank Irwin speeding on entry because he's got a lengthy stop. Here comes the Groot. He is on pit road, and so now that's going to leave Schaus and Wagner right now the top two. Craig now is over almost 3 seconds behind them now. Again, talking about just, again, dropping that anchor. So, again, he's going to need to try to go at least 5 more laps to make this number work. And now the question mark will be, here comes Wagner. He's going to hit pit road. Is he bringing anybody else? Yep.
Craig's in.
No, Craig's in and Pahutski's in. So even more confused now, honestly, on this one. And that's going to leave Schaus.
Did a try.
Yeah, so we'll see how it all we'll see how everything turns out in the end. But yeah, very intrigued why, unless maybe there was some lingering damage we weren't aware of or what. But here comes Schaus, big curve in there. But I say that thing actually stuck really well in that transition. So nice entry for the 72. That leaves Joseph Morales as the last car to pit, and here he comes as well.
I'm curious to see if the Edson and Mark debacle on entry actually kind of helped them or hurt them, because Murphy did kind of come in a little bit awkward, but he actually didn't seem to impede Edson at all. And again, you work kind of as a team. So when you come in together, if you kind of slow each other up at all, it may hurt you both, or it could help you both, as long as you do it in such a way that's safe. But your outlap is also going to matter in this case too. So let's see how it plays out here when everyone's done pitting. And
Yeah.
I can confirm that I don't think anyone could do it on no more stops.
No,
because,
yeah, everybody's got to pit
Yeah.
one more time. There's no doubt. And so, yeah, so right now, Mark and Edson, they're separated a little bit, but they are still both within the draft window of each other. Matt, and also Edson ran the fastest lap of the race that previous lap with 25:37, this time a 43. Matt Wagner was quicker than Murphy, not to Edson though, but he's going to have to push because right now he's about that 1.26 mark, which again, for me, I'm used to about 1.5 is usually kind of the draft window for me. And so Eric Schaus in the similar spot, about 1.5 off of Matt. And then Craig had a really good pit entry and exit, as he is still able to hold on as far back as he was on entry. And this is what I always look at here, Andrew's pit lane time. Mark Murphy was 33.63 seconds, 35.22 for Edson, 34.62 for Matt Wagner, and then Craig was a 34 flat. So by far, Mark Murphy the quickest in and out of pit lane. But yeah, so one of those little things that you just kind of keep an eye on, that those tenths of a second could make a big difference. So right now, like I said, Edson's there. They've caught back up with each other. And if they do this, if they leapfrog now, what do you think? Do you work with a competitor here to try to make it settle up between the two of yourself?
It's tough to tell at this point, especially when you got one more pit stop left. So you have to try and put yourself in the best spot to kind of pit by yourself. Going back to your little summary there of the pit stops, I find it very strange that Murphy actually had such a good stop as it was, because it looked like he was going to miss the pit entry entirely. So it almost kind of seemed like he set himself up for a better entry based on the arc he had, and was able to slow the car down enough. It was almost kind of lucky how he got in there, but it almost may have scared Edson a little bit that he may have tried to kind of throttle down a little bit on the entry there. So yeah, going for the next pit stop, I think they don't want to be together. They may want to try and do something separately so they can kind of measure where the break point is to come into the pits together. So I'm not really sure what they want to do going forward strategy-wise, if they want to leapfrog or if they want to kind of just hang out behind. It didn't work out for Forsythe last time around, so I don't know if it'll work on the next pit stop either.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how it all pans out, but field's a little bit spread out here, so what we can do is we got to kind of give some love to all the drivers, show off the paint schemes, and so we'll run through the field here. So we've got Edson Santos, our pole sitter and current leader at the moment. Then next to him was our inside of row number 2, Mark Murphy in that 69. Matt Wagner, he is closing that gap. He's within a second now, Andrew. In the number 6 car, he is up 5 positions to 3rd. Eric Schaus up 2 spots into 4th. Again, he's tied with Matt Wagner for 2nd in points behind Mark Murphy, who we just mentioned, who is in 2nd currently. Then we jump back to Craig Forsythe sitting in the 5th position, about 1.4 off of Schaus. Then you got Nick DeGroot here in 6th, up 6 spots there. The same thing, just over a second behind Craig. Nick Wheeler in the number 88, up to 7th, up 3 from his 10th starting spot. AJ Hobson there in the number 4 sits in 8th. Casey Putsky, highest climber so far, +9. And also, I believe that was after the front wing replacement, if I'm not mistaken, on the cars. He sits in 9th, like I said, +9. Mason Mitchum rounding out our top 10 in that number 3 machine. And then behind him, Joe Branch there in the 28 car, up to 11th. Got Jeff Heisong hot on his tails in 12th. Then Rick Sanchez, we saw his issues on pit exit a little earlier. He sits 13th. Joseph Morales in the 14th position, last car on the lead lap. And then these two drivers, unfortunately, trapped a lap down at the moment. Daniel Durazo there, again, off sequence on pit stop, so a little bit older tires there. He sits 15th. Frank Irwin Jr. had that pit penalty. He sits in 16th position. Shane Coker just came in for his next stop. He is battling with Matt Wagner right now. Matt probably does not want to be battling with that right now. He sits in the 17th position in that 32 car. And unfortunately, I don't know if maybe I missed it during this process, but I'm not seeing an Eric Peterson on track anymore, unfortunately.
I believe when you started that summary there, Peterson was coming into the pits, so maybe he has something personal to attend to, and he retired the car.
Yeah, so similar we saw with Teed as well, where maybe had to jump out and park it back. But what I am seeing, though, Andrew, as we ran through the field and now back up to the front, is we've got 5 cars all within the drafting range of each other here, from Edson Santos back to Craig Forsyth. So basically put all these guys back into the thick of it. Nick DeGroot's not too far. He is still in the draft range to get back up to them. So I'm going to say we're going to add 6 cars to this one. However, Nick Wheeler, unfortunately, he is about 2.5 seconds back. That's going to be too far to pick up any tow. So at the moment, it looks like it could be between these 6 drivers here. Again, pending how things go in the race. Right now, these are the 6 drivers that I think can vie for the win as things stand. And so, yeah, but again, we still got 39 to go. And Andrew, we pitted at around, we'll say roughly lap 70. We're at lap 87 now. Again, they can go a fair bit more, but do you decide, okay, maybe I'm going to split this one evenly because we've seen tires matter? Do you run it as far out as you can? I mean, where do you want to blink and maybe try to see if you can catch them sleeping a little bit here?
It's tough to do, especially on a 1.5 miler, because if you pit, you easily go down a lap and a half, and it's very difficult to pick that back up again, especially if all the cars are kind of on one side of the track where there's no help to get any sort of drafts, and you don't want the worn tires at the end, especially if you know that there will be no cautions left. So I would say that these drivers may not split it directly in half, but you may see drivers come in possibly around 105, 110. But once one car pits, they're all going to pit. They're all going to drag each other in. So I don't think this is really a track where you can outsmart your competitors based on pitting a little bit earlier. I think they're going to all pit within 5 laps of each other based on when the first guy blinks. So I say it's going to go like this probably for another 20 laps or so, and then we're going to see them all come in for a splash. I think they all take tires as well.
Yeah, I think tires are for sure. And you make a good point, though, is like you said, is the splash part of it. They're not going to need a full tank of fuel. They'll still need a fairly solid tank, actually. But all that they can save now would allow for a shorter pit stop on fuel. And I'm actually looking at pit time as well, just time stationary in the pits. And again, we talked about how much we felt like Craig was probably saving on track. And he had an 8-second pit stop compared to everybody else was in right around the 8.5, 9-second pit stop. So I'm wondering if Craig maybe saved half a second of time in his pit stall for fuel just because of the savings he's done. So can he do that again? That actually could also, same thing, propel him up a little further. And while I was watching that, I saw Nick DeGroot. He's found our boys here. He's in this mix now again as well. So top 6 drivers all right here with each other. And also that 32 Shane Coker, again, he had pitted, so he's a little bit off sequence with these guys. But again, right now, just in the middle of this pack right now. So we still got 34 to go, 33 at the line. Everybody's got to make one more pit stop. Right now, we're just trying to figure out when that might be and who's going to blink first.
You could definitely tell Craig was trying the fuel save to do it on just one more stop, but he couldn't pull it off. So I think he's now on a full rich set. He may try and save a little fuel, let Nick go, which he just did there in turn 2, and try and make his stop a little less. It only saved him about a half second, as you mentioned, in the last stop, so I don't think he can make up too much time, but maybe it can net him maybe 1 or 2 more spots up the road, and then they could battle to the end.
Yeah, it's going to be very fun to see. Again, when do you want to blink on these situations? Again, so we'll say roughly 70. And I say with this being a 125 lap race, like you had mentioned, lap 100 or so would be kind of splitting it with a little bit of extra kind of fresher tires towards the latter half of the run, obviously. So yeah, but I think you're right, though. I think especially with the tires 100, 105, I think is probably the likely window for splitting it. The question mark is just going to be is whether or not they actually are going to try to split it or just run it as far as you can.
you can see that Craig is dropping off the back of this pack quite a bit. So he's gone into a fuel save mode. He wants to make his last stop as short as possible. But one thing I noticed is that the top two, they've created such a wall of dirty air that there's nothing that Matt Wagner can do to really close on them. So even though he's on a full rich set fuel mix there, he really can't make up the ground that he wants to make. And it's kind of stacking up the rest of 4th, 5th, and 6th behind, trying to find the clean air. And it's not really paying off so much trying to find a way by him. So he's losing the top two a little bit. And unfortunately, it looks like the top two are pulling away a little bit, and Matt's not really finding the clean air in order to close up onto the two of them up front.
I like what I saw right there, Nick Wheeler. He's jumping in a little early, right at 29 to go. Say right now, he was kind of sitting at the best of the rest, where he was just outside that main pack. So he's going to try to do something again. Maybe he can short pit, have a shorter pit stop, take advantage of those those fresh tires, I should say, early, and then maybe from there be able to get those faster laps to pull in that maybe, let's say, second and a half on the leaders to then be able to pick up on their draft. So we'll see. He's going to come out in pretty clean traffic, actually. So I like this potential for him. I honestly feel like if you're Craig right now, I feel like he should maybe be one to consider short pitting. And as I said, here he comes. Pit. We got two. Matt Wagner. Craig was maybe a little hot. We'll have to wait and see. But so we got the 6 and the 99 both doing exactly what we just talked about. So we'll see now. Would they come in? Do we see any response from an Eric Schaus or a Nick DeGroot here? And again, I feel like Edson and Mark, I think they're going to be so focused on each other, I don't think they're going to look out past their mirrors.
We see new tires going on both these cars that are in the pit lane now. So now it's that dirty kind of time where we're trying to figure out, will there be a caution that traps these guys a lap down, or can they work together?
Oh, Matt.
We got a little loose there with Matt Wagner coming out.
Hung on to, though. That's going to cost him a lot of track position. However, Craig is able to get out clean. He's also very grateful that Matt was able to save it. Edson's on pit road here, so Edson's going to react to what we saw there from Matt and Craig. So now, again, I'm thinking we see Mark Murphy in probably this next time around, or do you think he says, you know what, I want to go further, have even fresher tires later?
Yeah, I think this is the first bit of clean air that Murphy has this whole race, where he can run the line he wants to run that Edson's been running the whole time. So I think Mark Murphy might try and extend this quite a bit, and he may drag the other cars that were sitting right behind along with him to try and close up a little bit and make sure when they pit that they have the clean track that they want as well. So
yeah, Mark has dropped the hammer because he's pulled a couple tenths on these guys behind him. So right now he is 1.92 seconds now ahead. So Mark's got pace. Again, we got to wait for the full pace to pick up for all the guys that did pit. I can tell you, Craig Forsyth, he has been able to pull himself away from Edson, but again, only 0.8 of a second, not enough to break the draft from that number 20. But he was able to get in. Again, think about how much further back Craig was at the time of pit entry as well. So, again, just shows how quick he was. And actually, looking at pit stop times, about identical. So, I think that's just all Craig's in and out lap. So, great job by the 99. And lap time-wise, Craig ran a 25:41 to Mark Murphy's 85. So, 4 tenths quicker. This time by, it's a 50. So, again, a couple tenths quicker for that 99 car these last couple laps.
That's going to be the product of the new tires. And I think that as long as Murphy can run the faster lap times out front, well, it's debatable if it's faster or not, especially with the new time. Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm going to be very interested to see. This last time by, Craig was still quicker, only by 0.2 of a second. It's a 25:69 to an 89. Edson, though, he's right to the rear wing now of Craig Forsyth. He ran at 25:36, and Mark said, I can't wait anymore. I got to come in. So he hits pit road. That's going to leave Eric Schaus out. DeGroot's in along with him. So now it's going to be Schaus leading this race. Again, he went furthest of everybody last time by. So now, again, do you maybe try to play spoiler and say, you know what? I know a couple guys almost spun on pit exit a few times now. I'm going to run this thing out, see if I can trap this field a lap down, because right now you've got, I think, just Casey Bahutsky, AJ Hobson are the only drivers still in this lead lap once that 72 across the start-finish line here at pit exit.
I'm watching Craig Forsyth right now, and he has a face full of Edson. So it's going to slow these cars down that pit early. And it looks like Murphy has fallen behind the two of them now. So Forsyth and Edson have overtaken. So it looks like the overcut's not really working so well. And I think that it's going to split these cars up from that small pack that they were running in earlier.
No, it's really spread the field out right now. Mark Murphy is just, I think he just by the skin of his teeth grabbed that draft here, Andrew, because it was about 1.5 or so. Now it's 1.44, 1.43, 1.42. Now it's starting to click back the right way. But it was very close. Like, that was as tight as you could probably get for Mark Murphy to try to not lose that draft. So right now we still have two drivers up front that have yet to pit. I believe up on the front runners, everybody else has hit pit road. Right now it is Edson Santos, Craig Forsyth now the top two. Give Mark Murphy another, let's say 4 or 5 laps. He'll be right into the mix here. So pretty much I would say with about 10 to go, we're going to have a 3-horse fight for this win from what I'm looking at. But again, right now, Eric Schaus, though, he is going as far as he can go, it looks like, as Mark Murphy just ran the fastest lap of the race there, Andrew, 25:30 in that number 69 car.
It looks like Eric Schaus at this point is just saying, okay, I'm going to run this out as long as I possibly can, because if a caution were to come out right now, Eric Schaus would be the leader, and you get a free pit stop out of it. So as fast as Forsyth and Santos are running, and as you see, Murphy is kind of closing up to this pack as well. It looks like the staying out may pay off as long as the caution comes out, but it's very tough to tell if that's going to happen.
And right now, Edson's actually been able to kind of sneak away a little bit from Craig here in that 9.9, about 0.6 of a second now. And again, those two are only 2 laps difference. Mark Murphy's got 5 lap pressure tires. And speaking of Mark, that last time by, he ran again the fastest lap of the race, bettering his previous one, as he's just going to squeak by there. I think that was Casey Buhutsky, if I'm not mistaken. Or not Putz. Or yeah, no, it was Casey Buhutsky. Again, Casey on the older tires. So right now, again, he's still on that lead lap, but same thing. He's doing what Schaus is doing, just going as far as he can. But right now, now it's here. Actually, as I said, here comes Casey, and
I think he didn't get down on the apron fast enough. And
yeah, I think he was going to try to do something, and he said, nope, that's thought better of it. That's unfortunate for Casey there. Just kind of one of those rub salt in the wound type deals. But Mark's there. He's got to Craig. He's got to try to make all of this time as fast as he can. And he's going to try to get a 2 for 1 here, get around 32, get around the 99, because he knows he needs to get back after that number 20. And it looks like, I think he'll get the momentum out of 2, and he'll take over that 3rd spot.
So he takes that 3rd spot from Craig, and I think he's going to try and set his sights on Edson now. So if you remember, it was Edson and Murphy that were side by side for much of the race here, and he wasn't able to do anything about it. So now that he's catching Edson, can he try and find a way to sneak attack him on the inside and get the run that allows him to take the lead?
I'm wondering, I feel like we saw as the run went on, the top lane actually seemed to have the momentum, and we've talked about that Mark's been playing nice on that second lane. He wasn't really squeezing that sit down, kind of forcing him to crank a lot of wheel in it as we're 10 to go here. So I do kind of wonder, maybe there is something to be said about trying to still run that top side, but obviously first thing first, he's got to get there. Lap time wise, he was about a 10.5 quicker, a 37 to a 50. And then they're also both just getting towards Eric Schaus. As I say, here comes Schaus. He's on pit road, coming to 9 to go. For Schaus, I think he's still got to take tires. I think it'd be too crazy to try to do a fuel only here with the time you're going to lose anyway. So, but that's going to give Edson a lot of clean air back again in front of that number 20 car. So Mark Murphy's going to have to work hard here, and you can already see starting to break that draft.
Yeah, it looks like they really started to come close to one another on this last lap. So can Murphy try and figure out something that gets him a little bit more clean air and gets him more momentum to go around the outside to pass Edson for the lead here?
And I also ought to give a pretty big shout out here, Nick Wheeler. Remember how we were talking about him short pitting, see if maybe he could take advantage of that and pull up a little closer. He's right now currently sitting in 6th, I think about to crack 5th here. Yeah, as he gets by Eric Schausters, Eric still builds up speed, so he was able to jump over some of those guys that were in that pack ahead of him. So great job by Nick Wheeler in the 88 to right now sit in that top 5 position. But here we go, though. 8 to go at the line, and we're back at it. It looks like we were at 20 laps ago or I should say at lap 20 with these two side by side one more time. Craig's got the best view in the house for this battle up in front of him, though.
They're back side by side again, so we're getting down to the last 8 or so laps here, 7 laps to go crossing the line. So I think Murphy's going to try. He's put himself right on the outside multiple times this race without being able to figure out a way by, but as you can see, they're racing a lot closer together than they were before.
Yeah, right here, Murphy has just a nose ahead. Now it goes back to Santos there again. Slightly curved backstretch, so Santos will still have a shorter distance through the backstretch. And yeah, now Mark's going to start to try to figure out, okay, where do I need to position my car here to get the right run at the right time to try to get into that top spot at the end of this race. And then Edson's going to be doing the same. Okay, what can I do differently to prevent him from grabbing that draft off of me? So yeah, these guys are both going to be trying to figure out how to make the right move at the right time. I can tell you Eric Schaus, he's just throwing everything he can to try to get some of those spots back that he's had from pitting late. He's back up to 5th, and he's trying to chase DeGroot down with those 11-lap fresher tires. Best chance he can get up to his 4th, but right now this is the battle for the win here, 5 to go.
So it looks like they were racing a lot closer together coming to the line last time around, and I think that's happening again where Murphy's getting a little bit better run down the back straightaway, but it's not enough to really clear him or get any sort of run that he wants down and through turn 3 and 4. We've still got about 4 laps to go here, so let's see if Murphy can figure something out.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough spot to be in, and you always think the short distance is going to be better. We have seen over time that it has gone the wrong way on the inside line. You just start to get that little push, and if you have to do any sort of breathing on the throttle, that kills all your momentum. And I've been watching the timing and scoring, and it's back and forth between the two of them. And again, there are no green-white checkers here, so if there was by chance to be a yellow coming towards the end, it's at that point just whoever has that nose ahead. So it could be by a wing. Right now it shows Mark ahead of Edson, and you'll see it's probably going to flip right there back as they enter turn 3. So you see Mark 2 here, Andrews, coming to 2 to go here. Entering a little higher, I think, as well, trying to kind of build that momentum. I think expect to see him try to really cut it down tight, I feel like, out of turn 2, turn 4. This is going to be interesting to see what these guys can do here.
I'm watching Eric Schaus. It looks like he's making a move. That's a lap car that's going by Frank Owen Jr. But Schaus has the fresher tires, and I'm trying to see if he can sneak his way on the podium somehow, but I think he's running out of time to get all the way up to the podium, but he could possibly take 4th place from Nick DeGroot.
Yeah, he's got to DeGroot, hasn't got by him yet, but this is the battle for the win. 1 to go here. What can these guys do? Can the 20 car hold that bottom to perfection? Can Mark Murphy work that outside to perfection, try to get the win? Again, it is just a winglet ahead here as they come through 3 and 4 final time.
I think Mark disappeared a little bit, but I think he's going to run as close to Santos as he can get. It's going to be very close, but I think Santos got it.
Santos going to get the win there, and yeah, the wrong time there for that little bit of a blink, I'm sure, too. But it is going to be Edson, and it was pretty much identical to the way we saw these guys racing throughout there, just side by side. Again, the respect being given to Mark was trying to hold him honest, but again, give him a little bit of space. But Edson able to get the win here tonight as he's going to stop it on the backstretch, and we'll see if I think he might be having to jump straight back to the pits to maybe try to get everything set up. Hopefully be able to get a chat with him on the interview side. But a great fight, though, by Mark Murphy. I mean, those two, I think they were probably single file less during that race than they were double file. Their spotters are probably really tired telling them car low, car high that entire race.
Yeah, that was definitely one of those things where you want to race as close as you can, but you don't want to get any sort of internet issue that may actually hurt you in the waning stages of that race there. So I think that was well played by both drivers, but just wasn't enough to race that high side for Murphy in order to get that position on him.
No, yeah, but again, really hard but respectful racing. Really impressive to see. Before we get to those interviews, we'll pull up the final results with Edson getting the win from pole position there by 0.02 of a second. Craig Forsyth able to grab that third spot there in the 99. Then Eric Schaus was able to get around Nick DeGroot, and actually that was by 0.02 of a second. So we're going to go back and we're going to find that one here as well, because that is a good fight for the two of those get into the checkered. So let's go watch that battle as well here real quick. So give me one moment. So we're going to actually pause that final result because we want to watch these two here. This is that battle for the 4th position. And this is kind of same thing. This is the inside versus the outside lane, but much, much different tire strategies here. And you can see Nick's actually, he's going to try to throw it all the way down to the apron. I'm sure Schaus is watching that. And so he's going to try to cut it down a little bit. And then at the line right there, just a little past the line though. And that's how close it was between the two of those guys. So really good fight between the two of them to grab that 4th spot. And I mean, we talk about every spot matters in these races. And so give that 4th place over to Eric Schaus. Again, by 0.02 of a second over to Groot. Then we jump over to Nick Wheeler did grab that 6th spot. Again, I like the short pit strategy for him. It worked out well. He gained some spots there at the end. AJ Hobson 7th, Matt Wagner 8th. Joe Branch able to still bring it home in 9th. Mason Mitchum, our top 10 finisher. Then you got Casey Bahutsky, Jeff Heisong, Rick Sanchez, and Joseph Morales, our lead lap finishers, and then Frank Irwin Jr. there. Daniel DeRosa first, 1 lap down. Frank Irwin Jr. unfortunately 2 down. Shane Coker 3, and then Eric Peterson early retirement we saw there, along with Charles Teed and Aaron Trotter. All right, now we got to chat with some drivers. And we get to ask some field questions to the first one because we were curious about that from the get-go here, Andrew. So we'll be able to hear it from the driver's mouth here. So let's find him. All right, so we're going to grab the Craig Forsyth on over here. And Craig, some points of that run, Andrew and I were kind of scratching our heads and our chins and thinking like, all right, is this a tire issue, handling issue, or is there some strategy afoot in that number 99 car? We're calculating 48, 49 laps if you were going to try to one-stop it from that last yellow. Is that what was going on between those ears of yours?
For the second pit stop, yeah, I was the second stint. I was trying to see if I could one-stop it to the end. About 15 laps in, I realized it was just not going to happen. And I was having trouble keeping up with anyone. And then I was having tire trouble the whole race. As soon as I went more than 20 something laps, my tires were done. I'm not good at saving my tires here. I'm too aggressive with my steering inputs and corner entries. So yeah, at which point once I knew I wasn't going to make it, it was just eke it out to make sure that you don't want to be the first to pit in any cycle because you don't want the caution to trap you down. So once we went in, that was the point at which I decided I was going to split the final stint, which is for someone like me that was going to burn up my tires. That was a better strategy for me. And it gave me the advantage of, a fast in lap, fast out lap allowed me to jump guys to scramble my way up to the podium. I got really lucky. I mean, Matt had the podium there. But on the pit exit there, I mean, I'd caught right up to him, but he was still going to end up being ahead of me. So, which means, I probably would have finished 4th, but he got loose there on pit exit. Luckily, he was able to keep it down on the grass, so no caution. And that's what she wrote. Once I was up with Edson, I knew it was only a matter of time till Mark was going to get by me. Those two guys were class of the field tonight. So I'm happy to steal the podium, I think.
Do you think that you were actually trying to save fuel a little earlier in the race than you thought, or did you actually try and see if you can get up to battle Mark and Edson, but they had too much of a wall going on that you couldn't actually get some sort of advantage? Like, what part of the race do you feel like that the fuel save or the tire save in your case may actually be a beneficial one for you?
It was once I knew I couldn't make the one stop from the first caution, from the first pit stop we all did. Once I was a couple laps in and realized it's just not going to happen. I can't make 49 laps or whatever it was. They were a wall of dirty air. I think that was
That's kind of what
every
I was
time.
getting at. Yeah.
Yeah, every time someone got up to me, I kept having the guys come up behind me right when I had lap cars in front of me, and I couldn't get like the optimal position to protect myself. Because I mean, if you go to the bottom with a car trying to run you down, you're going to get passed because he's going to go to the outside and he's going to hold the outside, and as long as he can hold the outside to the next corner, to the end of the entry for the next corner, he's going to pass you. So it's there's a lot of protecting the outside just to make sure that the guys behind you can't pass you, and yeah, because the dirty air is nuts, and yeah, it was wearing down my tires, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, the strategy and the pit entry and exit, we're looking at the numbers, and you were by far one of the quickest in and out of pit road in your pit stalls as well. So it was, I mean, like I said, you were able to kind of offset maybe some of the troubles you were having on track with your pit stop. So really, really good job there, Craig, to kind of like I said, get the most out of what you could, and then same thing, able to kind of take advantage of bad luck for others there at the end as well. So really, really good drive. Again, I'm in a very abrasive, difficult track, but able to still bring it home. Again, 120-degree track temp. That's only so much you can do in that situation too. But great job tonight, Craig. And as always, of course, got to give you the floor for any thanks and shouts for that podium tonight.
Well, yeah, I got to think it's Joe Branch got taken out in the first wreck there near the start of the race, so it put him a lap down right from the get go. So he was on the back foot most of the race, but he was in chat with me. We were talking over strategies, and then yeah, Jim over at 40 Raceware, he couldn't make the race tonight. He was sad about it. Pretty busy with work right now, which I guess is a good thing. So yeah, nope. 40 Raceware, great supporter for IndyCar racing on iRacing, multiple leagues, and Area 51 as well. So yep. And I mean, you guys for doing the broadcast day in, day out, week in, week out. I think we'll go with week in, week out. We appreciate it.
Close enough.
Awesome job, Craig. Well, great job tonight. Look forward to seeing you the rest of the way, man. And yes, have a good evening, sir.
You too. Stay safe, both guys. Have a good night.
All right, that is our third place finisher, Craig Forsyth. We're going to jump up one more spot here. We're going to pull in Mark Murphy, who continues his streak of just ridiculous finishes. I've been looking at the stats, Andrew, and it's just so many top fives. I'm sure wants more of those threes and twos to be ones, but Mark, you probably owe your spotter a couple beers or something tonight, because I feel like you probably all you were hearing tonight was Carlo for the majority of the race. I mentioned Andrew, you were probably double file with Edson more than you were single file in this one tonight.
Yeah, that's I got the Race Labs indicator lights, the blind spot warning lights. They sit on my dash right about where the top of the dash is on either side of the wheel. And I think the left light stayed lit for 120 straight laps. I mean, it was a ton of fun. I mean, not exactly racing for the win here. You got to understand the situation and understand the remaining races on the schedule and understand who you're racing against. And Edson isn't necessarily one of the people I'm racing against. It's Schaus, DeGroot, and Wagner that you got to watch out for. And so it didn't really matter to me that much if Edson won the race. Just lead a lap, get the 2 bonus points for not making contact. So give plenty of room, make sure that there's absolutely no chance that netcode can play. And then if I could pinch him enough coming off of turn number 4 to nip him at the line, then so be it. If not, happy to run second and keep the the podium and the top 5 streak alive. And I didn't catch any airtime today, so unfortunately Wood was denied some healthy entertainment. But other than that, just really sad, just really happy to keep marching, to keep going toward the ultimate goal. Right? They don't pay you for the individual race. They pay you for the championship, and that's what we're after.
Well, you kind of answer the question I was going to ask Mark, so I'll ask it in a different way. At any point in this race, did you feel like you could get underneath Edson to maybe take the lead and maybe make yourself the champion of following the normal line around here, or was it just a matter of a damage limitation situation where you felt like you need to just place yourself in a situation where you know that you would make the wall dirty air for the cars behind so that no one could get around you to take that second spot? Or did you
I mean,
feel like there was any point where you can get underneath and take the lead?
I did have the lead after the first pit stop. I mean, I had like a second something lead. Unfortunately, I didn't escape the draft envelope, and Edson was able to catch up, but only liked a couple of tenths of a second for making that happen, which is hilarious to me because I never beat anybody off pit road. So I wonder if he slid the tires or overslid his box or something. But I thought maybe we might have had a chance to escape, but then again, it's remember who you're racing and what you're racing for, and understand that it doesn't really matter if Edson beats you here. It's it's finish ahead of Schaus, De Groot, and Wagner, and we did that. And if that means finishing second, then so be it. To answer your question, I didn't even try to get under him. It wasn't worth it. The risk reward there was very high risk, and the reward was nothing. So I didn't even try it. To be completely fair, wasn't even thinking about it. If he'd have slipped or something, I'd have gone down there, but I wasn't going to actively try to force the issue given the situation.
I kind of wish I was in Edson's case with any other racer that has the foresight to not want to battle me for the win, because I know that if someone's going for a championship, then they're just sitting outside of me the whole race and not actually actively trying to pass me. That might kind of be a good thing, because I'm sure that, it takes a lot of self-discipline to put yourself in a situation where you want to just hang on the outside of someone for the whole race, knowing that there could be some sort of internet or netcode issue that might take you out. So
yeah, I mean,
it's
we
definitely
learned
a growth thing for you.
Yeah, I learned from Vegas. I mean, there was a netcode issue there, and so I don't know if you guys noticed it, but there was a lot of extra room given. Andrew, this.
Oh, we did. We talked about it during the broadcast. So
yeah, I mean, I'll make note of that when I go back and watch it. But it's one of those deals. I mean, I can't afford. I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'm in a situation like Vegas or even Indianapolis. Like you wouldn't think you'd get. You wouldn't think you'd have a lapper spin off a pit lane and take you out while you're running third there. And that was, I was looking at a pretty. I mean, I had that race wired too. So it's, put yourself in a position where you're not going to finish off the podium, and don't put yourself in harm's way. I was thinking about it too, looking at the schedule. Texas is, well, you've seen me race at Texas. And Kentucky's on the schedule too. Those are, that's left. Those are two very similar tracks. I've won some big races at Auto Club in Michigan, and Auto Club's left. Really, the only track I don't like going to that's left is Phoenix. So, and it's not that I'm bad there; I just don't like it. Right. So, I'm looking forward to the remaining tracks on the schedule too, and I don't see any other wild cards. So, just keep finishing on the podium and keep finishing ahead of Schaus, De Groot, and Wagner. And by the way, that's not an easy thing to do. I mean, Nick De Groot's long been one of the top drivers in this car and the service, and Eric Schaus is plenty fast, and Matty Wagner is a excellent driver. So it's not like it's easy to do that. I mean, those guys are pretty good.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it kind of also shows Andrew just, I mean, we're already big picture time too, and I mean, I applaud you for that too, because like I said, you can get so caught up in the heated moment trying to like, no, I want this win. And then, then unfortunately situations could arise. And I say, I can't tell you again, we do have the drop weeks kicking in now. So, but you went from 50 over Schaus to 58. So you gained 8 points on them. Obviously, I'm sure gained a little bit on De Groot and Wagner as well, with you getting the best of the rest, or finishing the best of them as well. And yeah, like I said, I mean, there's only 5 to go after this one. So I say you guys start looking at some point, you got to start looking at those numbers and saying, all right, I got to make sure I get this math to make sure I don't kind of give up any points that I shouldn't, So really good strategy tonight, man.
And that's no disrespect to Edson, guys. I mean, Edson drove a great race, and he deserved to win it. It's not like it wasn't given to him, but there was definitely a lot of margin for error that was given to So my hats off to Edson. My hats off to Craig. He drove a tremendous race, and he got ahead of us on the pit stop. But I looked up at Race Labs and I said, well, wait a minute, he's got 10 laps on his tires. I bet I can gobble him up. And it got kind of hairy with Shane, but we made that stick. And then I ran down Edson pretty quickly, but he had also been in clean air the whole time, so his tires weren't hurt, and that was the difference. And like I say, we'll go on. I mean, Texas. Anytime I get to go to Texas, I'm gonna have a blast, and I can't wait to do that.
Well, before we let you get prepped for that one, we got to give you the floor here because I know you got some awesome partners over there. So definitely want to give you the floor for thanks and shout outs for that runner up tonight, sir.
Yeah, my hat's off to you guys first, Gail and Andrew. You guys do a heck of a job, and it's always fun to watch it back. And I know the connections that I have that watch these really enjoy it. So my hat's off to you guys. I'd like to thank everybody in Indy Alliance Racing, P1 Broadcasting, Black Magic Studios, Admin Box, just everybody that supports us. Shout out to Mark Cohn and the Joy of Driving, Matt Wagner being a fun guy to be in Discord with. And I'll tell you what, boys, we'll see you next week. Keep going fast and having fun here.
All right, man. Great job tonight. Look forward to seeing you next week at Texas, sir.
100%.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep.
All right, so now we gotta switch over to the driver that was on his inside for about those 100 laps. So we're gonna pull in our race winner, Edson Santos, winning from first, started first, finishes in first. Edson, really, really good job tonight. We talked to Mark and we told him same thing. You and Mark, I mean, you were next to each other almost all race. Was it fun? Was it stressful? I mean, just take us through it tonight.
Hello, man. Hello, friends. Good night. What a race. Pretty cool. And I exhausted because mentally it's a pretty hard. Yeah, it's so fun to race here. It's interesting because I was not confident because I had a problem with one of my screens 1 hour before the race, and I had to uninstall it and step it up again. So when I got into the server, there were about 5 or 6 minutes left, the end of the practice. So I didn't practice, only 4 or 5 laps, no quali at all. But it was interesting because I could get the pole position. It gives me an interesting advantage because it's very hard to overtake using the middle or the outside when you're protecting the inside line. But Mark ran so well. He could do it in the second stint after the yellow. He can do good runs in the middle. So there was a time we came to the pits together, and I spent a few laps fighting to get in because his pit exit was very good. And last stop, so I decided to do it, even in P1, where I believe Mark gave it to me, the P1. So in order that I burned my tires again, I went to the pit early, and I thought it might be a good idea to anticipate the speed and make some fast laps. It would give me some advantage. That gave me about 1.5 seconds, enough to stay ahead for about 10 laps, 12 laps. In the end, there was this fight so intense. I believe it must have been cool to watch. I was a little bit worried about some blinkings of Mark. I was having some blinks, some issues with his connection. And as I'm from Brazil, the risk of netcode is pretty good, really so big. And so this happened a few weeks ago between us. I don't remember the track, but unfortunately, you had some incident, and it was annoying because we could be fighting for the victory. How it happened today. But finally, here came my first victory in this league. Happened in the same time. I'm impressed because it came in the race that I didn't prepare myself at all.
Yeah, did you find it easy to kind of keep yourself on the white line, on the bottom line for most of the stint, or did you feel like the right front might have been burning off quite a bit that may have been difficult to keep yourself ahead of the car on the outside? It's difficult, especially with the hotter temperatures, to stay as low as you want to stay. But talk about how much you played around with the tools to keep that advantage at the bottom.
Yeah, and actually in the first 20, 22, 25 laps of each stint, it was possible to reach in the white lane, the left. It's the inside line, of course, was burning more tire, especially the front right. And so in the uh, second half of the each stint, I was losing a little bit. I was putting some clicks of wayjacker along -2, -2, -3, and it was pretty hard because I was accelerating a little bit in order don't have some understeer and collect mark in the middle. Uh, Including the moment he could overtake me in the second stint because my tires were simply terrible in that moment. So the first part of the stint it was okay, but the second half was pretty hard to stick with the white line.
No, you did an awesome job tonight, Edson. As you mentioned your first one. I'm surprised if that's the case. I figured for sure you had some before, but really, really, really good job. Let's say definitely a big congrats on the win tonight. And yeah, I mean, I know you've got teammates. Sometimes Rafael gets to race with you sometimes, but and I know you've got some great sponsors and partners. So definitely want to give you the floor. Any thanks and shout outs for the win tonight.
Sure, thank you very much. I'd like to send a warm hug for all my teammates here in Brazil from Linear Energy Racing, including Rafael Wakert. Probably in the next race, he will be here. He had some issues with his equipment, but yesterday, I guess, yeah, yesterday, he could get a new director drive, and probably he's got an organization himself to get here in the next picture. So a kiss for my children and for my wife here, and pretty good, pretty good.
Congratulations. Yeah, and I can confirm you had the first win at Area 51. You came second on your second start. You finished second, so it took a little bit, but get the big win tonight at Chicagoland. Like you said, with the everything starting late with the monitors and everything, just you're able to still make it happen. So great job tonight, Edson. Go enjoy this one and look forward to seeing you again next week, sir.
Sure, I will. Thank you very much. See you again last week.
Thank you, Edson.
Thank you.
So that is our race winner there, Andrew Edson Santos, getting the win here tonight at Chicagoland. And I went and I had to go double check because I couldn't. I was like, no, he's won before, and no, unfortunately, he hadn't got one yet. And that said too, I mean, his first race was January of 2024, and then he's kind of been able to make him here and there, so still, I mean, able to get the win here tonight. That's always a fun thing to do. Matt and I always talk. We will always love to see the first time winners, and they mentioned and say he remembers as well that contact, unfortunately, with Mark. Obviously, Mark was aware of it as well at Las Vegas, and I mean, yeah, just unfortunately part of racing. I mean, he Edson mentioned in his interview too. It's with him being in Brazil, the net code it has that extra chance of being an issue, and I think both of them were aware of it, and they kind of adjusted accordingly just to be extra cautious tonight.
Yeah, we always like to see a first winner of the series for sure. I remember my first win in Area 51, and then they kind of just piled on afterwards. And it's almost like you break through the glass ceiling, and then next thing you know, you just have a lot of confidence going into future races. And this won't be the first one for Edson. I'm sure we'll talk to him a lot more in the future. And if he can kind of string together enough of a top 5 streak, kind of like Mark Murphy did this season, we could see him be a championship contender as well. Because I think Edson's got what it takes. He just gets, unfortunately, mired down in the pack a little bit and can't really find a way to get up to the front to take advantage of those situations.
Yeah, no, exactly right. So he just, like I said tonight, yeah, like I said, he had the track position, didn't have to worry about trying to fight through the field, and it's even sometimes those ones where you don't over prepare, you just kind of have to jump in and just almost let your natural instincts just take control. And I mean, I almost wonder maybe that's kind of what came into play for him tonight, was just like, oh crap, I got to go, let's qualify, let's do this. And it worked out well for him. So it's really cool to see. I'm excited for him, and I look forward to seeing what he's got the rest of the season. I mean, again, he's not too far back in the points. He could definitely still put some pressure on those top 3 guys. Like I said, he's just got to kind of try to see if he can get hot like Mark has.
There's definitely such a thing as over preparing for a race, and I've definitely been there before. So I think he might have had the right kind of recipe tonight for a good finish.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see how the rest of the way goes. But Andrew, as always, sir, a pleasure having you up here in the booth with me. I say, Brandon, we saw you watching on the broadcast. Again, big thank you for you chiming in. Also love having you over on the booth on Super Speedway side Thursdays and Sundays. Thank you so much for hopping in over there too. And yeah, I mean, we're full back in the swing of broadcasting. Back again on Thursday night for the Super Speedway Truck Series, and then Super Speedway Gen 4 Cup Cars on Sunday nights, and then 1 week's time we'll be back here again with the IndyCar Ovals at Texas. So for myself, Kyle Brooks, Andrew Wood with me alongside as well. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and as always, until next time, take care, stay safe, have a good night.